The sun is really just kicking you, man. I was thinking, should I take my shirt off? But I'm just thinking, like, I don't. Man, showing the guns already, man. This is like no shame out there, man. Like, how's things going for you, sir?
Going good. Actually, came off because we're doing interviews and I've sweat through it out here. So we're up to the interview with you, and I got nothing left in this shirt.
So I guess, like, for all the interviews you've done today, you're just thinking, oh, all of these sweat marks must be coming off. Nah, 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 nah. I got to take this off, man. Like, it's not doing me no favors right now.
No, it was done.
Well, I feel privileged knowing that I got a shirtless MMA fighter that's representing the PFL strongly at this point. So I'm honored at this point.
Awesome.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. So I'm assuming, first off, before we go into anything, are you in your garden at the moment?
Yeah, I'm in my backyard. We're just hanging out, sitting next to the pool, trying to catch some sun, and just they got the TV on inside. I'm always like, "Yo, quiet down." They just don't listen. So
I feel like that with my dogs as well, because they can bark like hell, and I'm just thinking, like, just half hour, please, just half hour. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, no, I mean, how's the weather out there for you? Because it's scorching on our side.
Yeah, it's scorching right now. That's why I'm sweating through everything. I don't know what it is, but it feels like 90 right now. Like it needs to rain, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy on our side as well. It's meant to be like I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it's like 37 degrees next week. I don't know. This shirt will definitely have to come off by then, because I don't know how I can hack it. I mean, you're good, so you know all of that stuff, man. Well, I mean, let's get straight into it. I mean, of course, your big upcoming fight in the Copper Box Arena next month, August 20th, against Brendan Loughnane. I mean, you know, you had your fight last month with Kyle, and back in April, like, was your legendary win, as you said, Lance Palmer, both wins, and in your fourth semi-final. How confident are you going into this fight, knowing, firstly, is this your first time in the UK that you're fighting and coming full stop?
This is the first time for the UK, but not for Europe. I fought with the UFC in Amsterdam, so
Yeah.
I'm somewhat familiar with the process of getting over there, having a time change, acclimating. I know that I leave here at night. I get there, it's basically the morning. I got to rough it through one of the days and get on your clock. So aside from that, though, it's you know, I'm going to kind of treat it very similar to that other fight.
Okay, so you've had that experience before in Europe, so it's not really going to deter you as far as, like, you know, coming to our turf, expecting, like, you know, a UK ruckus crowd and stuff like that. You know, I guess it won't deter you in any way when you're facing up against Brendan.
No, I mean, that whole arena loaded. I forget where Rotterdam, but full, and I was being booed. Walk out there, I was having stuff thrown on me, like when I was waiting to walk out, and nah, man. I mean, I got 30 pro fights. It's
Yeah.
I could fight pretty much anywhere.
I mean, obviously, you've had like a really good record so far. Of course, with Brendan, you know, he's been in the ring with Ricky Hatton, who's a legendary boxer out here recently, doing some training in the ring. How has camp been for you, and how does that fare in terms of his training? Like, have you seen a lot of his training, and, you know, how's that prepared you for when it comes to August?
Nah, unlike him, I don't stalk my opponents on Instagram. I worry about like what I need to do. He's all in my business, looking at whatever he can, trying to get involved in stuff. I focus on what I need to handle. I don't care who he's training with. I don't care what he's trying to do. Nothing's going to help him in 1 month. You know, that's not how fighting works. You know, he may change a little bit. Hey, keep your hand up a little more here, you know, when you're throwing that, little things. But, you know, you don't just go do 3 sessions with Ricky Hatton and become Ricky Hatton. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, of course. I guess it takes years of you know, of knowledge and practice, and also, you know, hitting it in the ring. So that's how he's become a legend in himself. I mean, of course, like you mentioned in an interview, I mean, you had some choice words for him as well. Like, you don't give a shit where you fight him. You'd fight him in the backyard if it were to be. And you even said that, you know, him being a knockoff Conor McGregor. I mean, wow. Like, do you feel that is this for you like a kind of quick challenge and move on and just get to the final? Is it just kind of like a bump in the road for you? Is that how you feel?
I feel like at the end of the day, when you look at both of our skill sets for him, unfortunately, yes, like if I choose to, I'll do whatever I want to him. If I want to stand up and kickbox him, I can put him away. If I want to take him down and make him miserable and keep him on the floor for 3 rounds, like floundering to get up, I'm capable of doing that too. If I want to choke him, I'll choke him. He's inferior to me everywhere, with the exception of, like, you know, he's got some smooth, good volume boxing. But aside from, you know, being a volume puncher, he's got nothing on the ground. He has no submission game. He's got a shitty takedown at best. He's just not as well rounded in MMA. He's not as athletic. There's just a lot of math. It's facts. I'm not speaking lies. I grew up grappling my whole life. I'm the guy who's the submission threat. I'm the guy who's been finishing people this year. And I had choice words for him, and I mean it.
And I mean, of course, like, you know, you'd be saying about that you're not looking at his training and stuff like that. You're just focusing on you. So, I mean, how has camp been for you in general? Because I read in interviews that you cut down to about 145 pounds, which is around 66 kg on our side. And I guess you've been doing better in eating habits, because I remember you were saying about how you would drop down in weight and then binge back up, and then it didn't really benefit you. So how has the process been different this time around, knowing that you're fully prepared for this?
Yeah, I've learned this season how to be a more effective 45er, because last year I was making the weight, but then my body likes to sit in the high 70s, like 78, some, you know, in that area when I'm not in camp. Now, last year I was ballooning all the way back up, and then I would cut it all the way back down like 6 weeks again. Now this year I don't allow myself to go over 170 ever, and I stay, and it just makes my cut that much easier. I get there like 2 days quicker. It just feels more smooth.
Is it a change in food habits as well? Are you doing different foods to get you back down to the weight more effectively?
Yeah, it's all the diet. Like I intermittent fast. So for instance, like today is I don't know, it's probably like 2:30-ish our time, and I haven't eaten yet today, but I'll eat after our interviews. So I don't really eat in the morning usually. And by doing that fasting, only water and coffee, I've been able to help manage my weight better.
So have you always been a coffee fiend? Because it seems like that's what's got you there.
Yeah, yeah, I love my coffee, man, and I drink black coffee, either iced or hot, but unsweetened black coffee, because yeah, you know, like a large only have 5-10 calories, but if you start pumping in the milk, the sugar, now you're talking about like 200-300. So
okay.
When you're making 45, it all adds up. It all counts. So the sweet stuff had to go.
Okay. I mean, it might not be as strong for my part because I got a sweet tooth and it kills me every time, man. So I'm not as strong-willed as you, and the coffee is just like, nah, not for me, not for me. So I wanted to quickly talk about the fact that, you know, from your background in MMA, like you turned professional after like your first 2 fights. You worked on independent promotions and then getting yourself into the UFC. So talk to me about the process of what got you there, and, you know, was it processes that you were talking to Dana White and getting yourself contracted up to the UFC, like, you know, and even down to like, you know, your beginnings as a professional wrestler and a kickboxer. So where did that all stem from?
So the wrestling, that started when I was a kid. That was from my dad being a wrestler. He wrestled when he was in school. So we wrestled because of him. And I did that from like 8 years old. That led to, you know, winning a state championship and then going to college to wrestle. And
was it at Nassau, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1 season was. I actually wrestled at 3 different schools. I wrestled Division I in Binghamton as a freshman. I was all conference for them. Then I went home. Then I went home to Nassau. I lost in the national finals to Colby Covington, actually. And then my final season, I went to Division III, and I placed 5th at 174. So I was lifting weights a little more at that time.
Okay.
But when wrestling ended, that was like, or when it was ending, that was like right around the time the Ultimate Fighter show was out. And that's what got me hooked on the fighting. When I saw that show, I was like, I want to do this. And we had a guy locally in my town that was a kickboxer. And I linked up with him. My brother was friends with his son. And I started hitting pads in his garage with him. And I said, if I could kickbox and win kickboxing fights just striking, then I should be able to do pretty good at this MMA thing. And I wound up going 4-0 in kickboxing with some finishes. I did one amateur MMA fight, and it was off to the races. I went right to a regional promotion in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And that's the guy that got me to the UFC, was Lou Neglia with Ring of Combat. He had a very good rapport with Dana and with the guys that were his champions, you know, Gian Vellante, some big name guys came out of that area. So I think that the UFC probably was just keeping their eye on Ring of Combat, and they saw that my name was out there.
Yeah, so it must have been a push from like your friend that had a affiliation with Dana White, and then obviously that led you to having a really successful career in UFC before transitioning into, you know, the PFC. So, the PFL. So, from that time of doing all those fights and now being a PFL, what made you decide that you wanted to transition there? Was it like that you wanted to explore different avenues? So, what was the process like in transitioning?
I mean, the process there was trying to do what was best for my family. You know, I'm a homeowner here. I have a daughter, so I was feeling like I wasn't really getting to fight often as I wanted to compete when I was with them. I was kind of on the back burner. I was getting like short notice stuff, and I couldn't sustain it financially. That I kind of felt like I was being choked out, strangled. And then I fought my contract out on a win. Wasn't really hearing anything about a new contract, and I needed to get something more consistent going. And thank God that's when the PFL came to be, was that exact season. And it just seems like it was meant to be.
So it felt like that everything was coming in at just the right time. So as your contract ended with USC, PFL was coming around. I'm so sorry. Yeah, PFL was coming around, and then literally like it all worked through at the same time, and then it benefited for you and your family, not only financially but also, I guess, to spend a little bit more time with the family. So I guess that's what made the transition help out for you.
Yeah, the timing was impeccable. You couldn't have drafted it up any better. It was a smooth transition. And I started right away with them, and the frequency of being able to compete this often is like amazing for me. I love it. That's what I'm built to do.
And of course, like obviously smooth sailing, like you mentioned in an interview that your fight with Lance Palmer was a personal legacy achievement. I mean, against a two-time world champion. You know, how did you initially feel when you made the win? I mean, you know, you've had many wins, very few losses. You know, firstly, how did you feel initially? You must have just felt over the moon.
Yeah, it felt good to win. But my expectations are really high this year, and I want to finish fights. So it felt like a clean fight, but I should have done a little more to get that fight stopped.
And is there a fighter or a wrestler that would be your ultimate goal? So like when it's all said and done and you hung up your boots, like is there someone in particular that you would want to step in the octagon, the ring, whatever it is, and then say that I've built a legacy and I'm happy that that's happened for me?
Man, I'm just out there chasing the best fights in the world I could find. So, you know, I consider myself genuinely a top 5 featherweight in the world. So you name anybody that's in the top 5, top 10, and I would love to fight them. I just, at the end, all people remember is who you competed against and how it went. So I'm just looking to get as many of those like Lance Palmer-esque fights in as I can.
So it's ever since that last Palmer fight, you want that execution to be more of those type of fights. So Lance has put an effect on you, so it seems, so that, you know, you want those to be continuous of that sort of fight for you.
Well, it's just like something that when you're older, you get to look back on. When it's someone no one really knows,
yeah,
you explain, oh, I fought, you know, Joe Smith. Then they're like, what? Who? So I like when it's a name that people can resonate with.
Okay, and I've just got a few more questions, and I'll let you go. I've always been curious because I am a professional wrestling fan myself, and I know like the likes of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler that have transitioned from MMA to the WWE, you know, and being successes there. I mean, firstly, how do you feel about that in terms of those crossovers? I know it's happened before, but even with Brock Lesnar coming from WWE to MMA, you know, winning the UFC Heavyweight Championship and then coming back to WWE, how do you feel about those sort of plays that are happening? And then would it be something for you? I know obviously your PFL, that's your family, but would it be something that you would consider, like if an offer were to be on the table for professional wrestling, as you have your wrestling background, would it something you would consider?
Yeah, I would absolutely consider it. Those people, they get a longer shelf life out of their earnings because they may not be in their prime fighting anymore, but they could still perform. They still look good. They're still able to entertain the fans. So that's something that if it came to be, I would love to explore it. I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up watching almost every night with my brother. So
who was your favorite wrestler at the time you started watching? I'm curious.
At the time that I started watching, it was Bret the Hitman Hart.
Legend. Absolute legend. Yeah.
I would put my brother in the sharpshooter against his will all the time.
He must have been pissed about that every time. It's just like, imagine the Bret Hart versus your brother being the Shawn Michaels, I guess, in this instance, because you know how that went.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Would there be someone like in, you know, the current WWE landscape, if you've been watching, if say like they ever made the transition to MMA, let's just put fantasy booking out there, would there be anyone from that side of the world that you want to bring in and then have a fight against?
Ooh, you know, that's hard to say just because of my weight. Like all the people that I know and that I watch, they tend to be like the WWE's like heavyweight champ or they're higher up, you know. My way, it's more like Rey Mysterio, like flying around. So I'm not really sure, but I definitely think that there's some people that.
What about Dreams? What about Dreams? I mean, it doesn't necessarily like even if not the weight class, because there's been David versus Goliath matches all the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I haven't watched pro wrestling in a long time. So John Cena is the only dude that comes to mind that I feel like would he'd sell out regardless. No pro fight experience. You put that guy in the cage with anybody, he's selling the arena out. Obviously he's bigger than me, but that guy I would love to see compete. He looked like in his prime he could have transitioned somehow. He's very athletic, but aside from that, I'm not really sure. I don't know who they have on their roster.
Okay, all right, interesting, because I've never heard that John Cena in a MMA ring. Oh wow, fantasy booking at its finest. You got me thinking now. It's crazy. I mean, imagine it against you as well. Like, you know, who would fare up? And I know you have more the experience of that, so it could be two different dynamics. But that's just me thinking in terms of crossover worlds. You know, and of course, like, you're from New York. I got to ask, like, are you a Yankees and Mets fan?
Yeah, I'm a Met fan.
Oh, more of a Met fan. Okay.
Yeah, I hate the Yankees.
Oh, you hate the Yankees? Because, I mean, me being from the UK, I'm very ignorant to the fact I used to work in the cap shop, so I learned more about the teams and stuff. Obviously, I'm guessing you're a Giants fan if it's NFL?
Yeah, New York Giant fan.
And what? Knicks. Oh, you New York Knicks as well from baseball. And then what about from basketball? And then what about Brooklyn Nets?
Nah, I can't
Nah.
stand it.
I'm glad. I'm learning this because I guess like it seems like for us in the UK when we're watching like football matches, we're not just like because I'm from London, but I would support Manchester United, and they're from a different city to me, so it's kind of like a taboo thing really for most of us. But we support who we support, so we have like Arsenal and Chelsea in London, but there's me supporting another county in the country, so I feel like it's like a fakeness for me if I were to go any other way, I guess, but. I'm glad that you're just on a few teams and that's it, really. You're not all the way in New York like that, do you know?
When you're from New York, if you root for both teams, people have a big problem with that.
Really?
Yeah, you pick one.
Okay. And you've always been
if you're a girl and like you're not really too into the sports and you're just kind of going just to be, you know, at an event, you could get away with saying, "Oh, I like both teams." But if you're a guy, you'll catch a lot of shit. If you're like, oh, I'm a Met fan and I'm a Yankee fan, like, nah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's the same as just like supporting Chelsea, like Chelsea and Arsenal the same way. If you were to support both teams, it's a problem. It's a problem. It would just be manic out here. So forget about that. So yeah, just to finally top it off, of course, you and Brendan, August 20th. I mean, what can PFL fans expect? Because I know that you're coming for war. I know that you're coming to go to the finals. I know that you want to go all the way. So, you know, what? Tell us, like, give us the juice of what you are feeling right now to just get in that ring.
I can't wait. You're gonna see a completely dominant performance. You know, think of something like when Khabib was in heyday, just blocking people's legs up, having conversations with them while he punches them in the face, saying it's my time. You know, you need to tap, you need to submit. Like, that's where I'm at right now. I'm gonna put this dude in positions where he can't move, have a little conversation with him, let him know he's not the man, and then we're gonna move on past him.
And what are your future goals within the PFL? Like, what are you looking towards next for you after your fight with Brendan? What's your foresight?
Well, then it's time for the belt. It's time to go get the belt.
Hey, bring the championship home, man. Bring it home, and get that $1 million that is on the horizon for you, bro.
Right.
Trust me. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you could tell our audience where they can catch you on all the socials and your fight coming up against Brendan, talk about it. The floor is yours, my dude.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Wade MMA, and also on Twitter at CWade MMA. That's really where I spend the far majority of my time. So Chris Wade MMA. All
right, and you can catch him in the Copper Box Arena in August against Brendan Loughnane, where he said he will dominate. He'll get that $1 million. He'll get into the finals. So, Chris, I wish you all the best, and you know, just kill it out there, bro.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Joel.
All right, appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself.